Welcome to this week's Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Chen. Taiwan's new approach to join the UN this year has received a lot of international attention. And on the 21st of October, Taiwan set up the first ever Taiwan Institute for UN Studies. And our guest today is the president of the Taiwan Institute for UN Studies, and Dr. Chen Lung-chu, and he is also the very well-known international law professor of New York Law School. He is also the chairperson of Taiwan New Century Foundation. Professor Chen, welcome to our program.
Good to be here.
Could you tell us more about the Taiwan Institute for UN Studies?
Yeah, as you said, it was just established formally on the 21st of October. And the Taiwan New Century Foundation has been long devoted to the study and promotion of the United Nations and its education, its information, and so forth. And this year, with President Chen, with our government, that have taken the first initiative to apply for UN membership.
That's right.
And this certainly has been a very encouraging sign to all of us. And yes, it's an uphill fight. For Taiwan to become a member of the United Nations, it would require the effort on the part of the government and also all the civil society sector. And so it's opportune to establish such an institute so that the people of Taiwan can be better informed, can be better educated, even though Taiwan has been excluded from the United Nations for quite some time now. But it's important for Taiwan to be a member of the world community and the people of Taiwan to be well informed, well educated. And the way to have this institute established exactly is to make sure that the Taiwanese people are better prepared. And also, of course, we want to make sure Taiwan's campaign to become a member of the United Nations will get worldwide attention and support.
What will be this UN Institute doing in the future?
Yeah, we will be doing lots of studies. Of course, one thing relating to how Taiwan can become a member of the United Nations, what will be the necessary procedures, strategies, and all related steps and so forth that need to be done. And on the one hand, we serve as a think tank, make a formal recommendation to the government and to other sectors of the society. But in the meantime, we also have an important educational function to perform in the sense of this larger segment of the population who needs to be informed. And so in a sense, yes, we are concerned with membership for Taiwan, but in order to do that, we do need to know what the United Nations is all about, its purposes, its functions, its decision-making processes, and all the important matters it deals with. And not only the United Nations proper, but also all the specialized agencies and related organizations under the UN system. And given the fact Taiwan has been away from the United Nations for so long, since 1971. So to this date, it's 36 years. Taiwan has not been part of the United Nations system. So it's doubly important at this time that we do have such an institute and it does its work.
Since 1993, Taiwan has been trying to join the UN. And this year marks a very important departure from Taiwan's previous efforts. How different is this year's approach from the previous ones?
Yeah, it's a very significant. Yesterday, the foreign minister came to, well, that when on the inauguration of the institute, he came by, and he said, yes, government for the first time really is taking a very proactive, very positive step toward the whole effort. And prior to that, in the prior 14 years, the whole approach has been fairly passive in the sense of relying on countries having diplomatic relations with Taiwan to support joint proposals before the General Assembly, hoping the General Assembly would establish a special committee to study the matter, or a working group, or for that matter, even to try to amend or repeal what is called Resolution 2758, adopted by the General Assembly way back in October 1971. But in any event, those efforts were not very clear in terms of what Taiwan really wanted, and also how to identify Taiwan itself in the past tended to use the Republic of China, what is ROC or Republic of China on Taiwan, and so forth. But this time, the president of Taiwan, President Chen applied for UN membership for Taiwan in accordance with Article 4 of the UN Charter. And it means what Taiwan seeks very clearly is a full membership of the United Nations.
That's right.
And that membership is open only to a sovereign, peace-loving state, able and willing to carry out UN Charter obligations.
Yeah.
And in that sense, Taiwan, of course, fulfills all the requirements of that.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. We made it very clear. Taiwan seeks to have a UN membership, not an observer or any other arrangement. Secondly, using the name of Taiwan, Taiwan as a sovereign independent state, that is totally different from and having nothing to do with the People's Republic of China, that is China, generally understood. So in that sense, it's extremely significant, and that's why the people of Taiwan are much encouraged. So that our government has made it clear what the government and people of Taiwan really want. We want UN membership and in the name of Taiwan.
Yeah. But even with those very clear statements on the part of Taiwan, our efforts to join the UN was turned down again by the General Secretary of the UN. How does it come about?
I think when President Chen sent his application, I believe on July 19th, and Secretary General, under the normal procedure, should transmit that application to the Security Council and then later to be decided, considered by the General Assembly. Yeah. This is the normal, regular procedure as provided in the rules of procedure of the General Assembly and the Security Council. But instead of doing that, Secretary General Pan Ki-moon simply took on himself to say, well, according to Resolution 2758 of the General Assembly and according to the One China principle, he had to return the application to us.
That's right.
And that is totally abuses his power. That exceeded his power.
Yeah.
He didn't really conform to the due process provided in the UN Charter itself and the regulations.
Yeah.
So that is a very regrettable thing. He did that. But on the other hand, because of that, Taiwan, of course, protested. President Chen sent another letter of application, and also countries having diplomatic relations with Taiwan simply brought the matter before the General Assembly, asking the matter of Taiwan's application to become a member of the United Nations be included in the agenda of the General Assembly. And there was unprecedented debate for something like 4.5 hours. The United Nations General Assembly spent a lot of time on that. And even though, of course, understandably, more countries spoke for China, but the voices in defense of Taiwan's position, in defense of Taiwan's membership in the United Nations, certainly were loud and strong. And so, even though these setbacks or difficulties, obstacles were quite expected, but it did really inaugurate a new era for Taiwan. This means Taiwan is taking a very proactive policy, wishing the world community to know Taiwan is a sovereign independent state. Taiwan is not represented by the People's Republic of China, and Taiwan wishes to become a full member of the United Nations. And one thing that was made very clear and has been very clear is simply Taiwan and China are two separate countries.
So this year we did make Taiwan's UN membership an issue for the international community. But apparently some people complain that Taiwan are making troubles. Do you think that's a fair statement?
I don't think so. I think Taiwan is entitled to be a member of the United Nations.
Yeah.
When Taiwan made application to be a member, that is an exercise of the fundamental human rights of the 23 million people.
Yeah.
The Universal Declaration of Human Rights has made it very clear. People enjoy the freedom to express themselves, especially in this age and era, needs to be in the World Forum. So this is a collective human rights. Yeah. So it is the matter of a human rights for the people of Taiwan. When we exercise our fundamental rights, this is not troublemaking. This is in defense of the fundamental principle of the United Nations. The United Nations is committed to the goals of promoting international peace and security and facilitating international cooperation in economic, social, cultural, human rights, and humanitarian affairs. Above all, it is committed to the principle of universality.
That's right.
To represent the whole of humankind and all nation states of the world. Yeah. So for Taiwan to make this application to become a member would simply say it's about time the United Nations does show fidelity to its fundamental principle of universality. And so, yes, Taiwan needs the United Nations. The United Nations also needs Taiwan. With Taiwan as a member of the United Nations, the United Nations can truly become a world organization representing the whole of humankind. Yeah. Otherwise, excluding 23 million people is tantamount to a contemporary form of a political apartheid, which must not be tolerated.
Well, the Deputy Secretary of State of the U.S. State Department said that Taiwan is not isolated. Taiwan has been doing okay for not being a member of the UN. What's your response to that?
Well, I think it's a matter of fundamental human dignity and simple justice. I said that Taiwan as a nation state has an international legal personality, just like an individual person. Everybody can join the club and you are excluded. Yeah. And you said, yes, you are going all right. You are making a living and so forth. What we are saying is, in this day, when we emphasize so much human dignity and human rights, for Taiwanese people to say, yes, we want to be a member of the United Nations, that is a matter of simple justice. Look around the world. Of 192 member states of the United Nations, if Taiwan were a member, it would rank 47 in terms of population. 47, our population, Taiwan, exceeds the total combined population of 49 least populated member states of the United Nations. Taiwan has more people than Australia, than all Scandinavian countries combined. More importantly, Taiwan, certainly in terms of economic development, it's an economic powerhouse, number 18 in terms of GDP, number 16 in terms of the trading status in the world, and in terms of foreign exchange reserves among the first 5. And it's a remarkable achievement, especially Taiwan has undergone such a fundamental democratic transformation, transforming an authoritarian regime under martial law to a free democratic country that is committed to the universal values of human rights.
That's right. But even with all those moral arguments, and what really matters for some people is the realpolitik, you know. So what is good for other countries if Taiwan becomes a member of the UN?
All right. Yes, granting there's a world politics, money, huge market, and so on. But I said any solution, especially for the kind of the organization represented by the United Nations, it must live up to its moral standard. Do what is right. What is right, not what is expediency from power politics point of view. And so it's very important in this world. Still, there are people who believe what is right counts more important than expediency of power politics and wealth and market. And so I think for Taiwanese people and government to stand up and let the world to say now, look, this is a new day, and the Taiwanese people's cause to join the world community to become a full member of the United Nations must no longer be put aside. Simply said they said, oh, it's impossible. China is in the UN, has veto and so forth. But I think we do believe what is right, and this is the just cause. In the long run, it will prevail, provided the people of Taiwan and government of Taiwan their utmost, do their utmost.
Dr. Chen, you are also the president of the so-called United Nations for Taiwan Alliance, an alliance of NGOs pushing for the referendum of Taiwan's membership in the UN under the name of Taiwan. So when we come back, we will talk about your efforts in that regard. And stay with us. We'll be right back.